Yo, what's going on, Mediocre Gamer fam? It is I, Anthony Elliott. I'm with my best friend AJ. AJ, how are you?
I'm doing great. Just coming off Thanksgiving weekend. Had a good Thanksgiving with
Yes.
some family. How are you doing, Anthony?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm tired because working at a place that has you up at 4 and 5 o'clock in the morning, it messes with your sleep schedule when you're not
Yeah,
used to it. But I mean, it's fine. We power through and we have caffeine pills, so it works out.
that's what Red Bull's here for, right?
Listen. Hold up. Time out. Celsius, get right. Just get right, okay? Because
Celsius.
listen. Have you? Are you? Hold up. I'm not sponsored. We're not sponsored by Celsius. AJ, have you never had a Celsius?
I don't really drink caffeine at all.
Okay, you are one of the lucky ones. But let me tell you something, AJ. Celsius, 0 calories, great taste, and also you know how Red Bull kind of tastes like carbonated pee a little bit.
Hmm.
No, doesn't. They also have non-carbonated versions of Celsius that they're just like tea. And also this is my favorite part: 200 milligrams of caffeine per can. Sounds like a lot. That's why you sip it slow. Um, yes. That's a whole other story. But anywho, AJ.
Anthony,
Quick
this
thing
is a
because
gaming podcast. Damn it.
this is a gaming podcast, which is why I wanted to bring up this one thing because we're about to go into horror games and Alan Wake 2 review. I didn't forget, party people watching at home. But I don't know if you saw this. There was a leak. There's a GTA 6 leak, which there always is. But there's a possible release date, maybe, potentially, possibly, maybe.
Ooh, I didn't see this.
Pre-order date. Pre-order
Okay,
date. The leaked date that everyone thinks it is, and it's probably wrong, but December 12th for pre-orders.
I could see it. Here's the thing, because I could see them announcing it either two things. Either one
Mhm.
on Game Awards night, which I'm now thinking is
Mhm.
less likely since that December 12th
Way
date.
less likely.
I'm thinking they're going to announce it on, like, the trailer is going to be announced on December 12th. Pre-orders will go live that day.
Ooh,
Pull
that's
pull
interesting. So
It'd pull essentially a Nintendo route. That's what they do with a lot of their direct games. They're always like, this is
yeah,
available for later today for pre-order or available now on eShop.
and you know something, it if anybody was gonna do the Nintendo thing, it would be Rockstar, but I don't think Rockstar is gonna do the Nintendo thing. I think what they're probably gonna do, because you gotta understand, GTA 6 is one of the most anticipated games
Mm-hmm. Yep.
like hard stop. So I think if they did something, December 12th probably makes sense because if they did something December 4th, right before the Game Awards, it's a Tuesday, so everybody's back in the office, fresh off the holiday season. Everybody's talking about it. They literally tweeted a trailer was coming sometime in December, and the
Mm-hmm.
internet almost died. So if they were just like, cool, random Tuesday, GTA 6 trailer, everybody talks about it. Game Awards happen, great, blah blah blah. Game of the year, amazing. And then we get to December 12th, and it's just like, oh, and by the way, pre-order. And it's just like, okay, yeah, like if you drop it on the 4th, 8 days later on the 12th, it's available for pre-order. That's enough time for everybody to, start stacking their pennies, getting their quarters together, putting a little bit of money aside. And I don't know, it makes sense.
Okay. Okay. They only thing I'm still caught up on is
Mm-hmm.
I think I the December 12th thing throws me off, but I've been really firm on them because during the Game Awards they make game announcements, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's like
Of course,
almost a half E3, half award show.
halfway. Yeah.
And so I was really thinking that they were gonna do it then because that's where all the hardcore gamers' eyes are. It's like we said before, it's our
Yeah.
gaming Super Bowl, right? Just like E3,
Of
it's
course.
like the same thing, right? It's like
It's the
our
Grammys
thing.
of gaming.
Yeah,
Everybody's there.
exactly. Yeah, everyone's watching that cares, and so I've been thinking they were gonna do it then, but I don't, because that's so close to the 12th. At that point, why wouldn't you just have pre-orders on the same day? And why I think
Yeah.
they're gonna drop the trailer the same day as the pre-order is because I feel like they're gonna want to capitalize on that hype while it's going. Like, trailer
Yeah.
drops, internet blows up, Twitter X crashes.
Don't call it X. Don't let Elon win.
Fine, Twitter
Thank you.
crashes. Of course, Twitter crashes, and everyone goes to pre-order it because Twitter crashing is making news because of GTA
Of course.
6. That's
Yes.
my guess. Either way, I don't think it's going to matter too much because it's so close. It
Yeah.
and I don't care when the pre-order drops versus the trailer or anything because in all reality, we all know we're all about to drop $70 on this game without thinking about it because we all
Ru-
know this is gonna be a fantastic game.
Another rumor is that GTA 6, whatever they call it, because they said the next Grand Theft Auto. They didn't say GTA 6, but it's probably GTA 6. Rumor has it it's gonna be a little bit more than $70, allegedly, maybe, possibly, potentially, maybe.
I'm fine with that if it's everything we are speculating it's gonna be.
I see what you're saying, but there's so much hype around it. I don't know if that's possible. But I see what you're saying. If it lives up to Grand Theft Auto 4 or 5, and it's just like, yeah, it's a new HD universe kind of retelling of this crazy crime story with these really interesting characters and this, that, and the other. See what you're saying? But I don't know if GTA 6
I'm
can live up to the hype.
I think it can because I mean look at it. Look at GTA 5. After all these years, people are still playing it. People still love it.
Yeah.
It's still this really well polished game, and now they're talking like
Rumors.
that
Rumors.
we're gonna have a lot of AI, like not AI in like a bad way, like randomly generating or anything, but like NPCs will be AI controlled. Therefore, we can have unique like not conversations, but like instances.
Interactions.
Yeah, interact. Thank you.
Yeah.
Unique interactions that other games haven't had. I don't know if that's true, but if we're like getting into that realm where each playthrough could be its own unique thing, and I know Baldur's Gate's kind of doing that, but in its own
Yeah.
way, different way.
Mm-hmm.
I think that is worthy of more. And I'm also slowly coming around to the idea that different games are priced at different things. I think we're at a point in
I'm
gaming
so
where
happy.
gaming shouldn't games shouldn't there should be a standard price because every game has
Mm-hmm.
had so much different put into it. Like good example,
Mm-hmm.
Miles Morales shouldn't have been a $70
Yes.
game. It was too small. It used the same
100%.
engine, wasn't worthy of it. And a lot of AA games that are coming out now, like Assassin's Creed Mirage, was $50, $40.
I think it was 50, yeah.
Perfect price. Great job, Ubisoft, for once. That was a Ubisoft dub. That like I
Got
think
one thing right.
you got one since what 2012 or whatever when the PS3 no
I don't
not
remember when
2008.
Assassin's Creed 2 came out.
Anyways, so they I think that was a great way of doing that, and I think more games should do that. And
Mhm.
GTA 6 has more than your standard AAA game. Perfect. I'm fine with 80. If it's the same, should be 70. Like I think it should vary based on how much money was put in, how big of an IP it is, like really what you think you could get
Mhm.
for it. I'm fine with that.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Well, that's enough of speculating. Now let's play in Imaginary Land. Before we get to the Alan Wake 2 review, you were telling me actually before we started recording that you had some really cool ideas for some horror games. And after playing Alan Wake 2, I'm really interested in hearing what they are and how they kind of compare.
So I think we need to do more out of the box stuff. Like really good example, like in like specifically for horror games, because like a
Mhm.
lot of horror games, yeah, they're scary and all, but it's kind of the same like feel. A lot of them lean more demonic because it's scarier.
Mhm.
Um, and so a good example was Metal Gear. I don't remember which one. Back in the day, when you got to a certain point,
Mhm.
it was like, hey, like your file's corrupted, and like it
Yes.
was,
Mhm.
and like then you would shut off your system, turn it back on, your save file was like gone, like it acted like
Yeah.
it actually corrupted, and then you turn it off, turn it back on again, it'd be fine. Like stuff
Yeah.
like that, so cool for horror games. Like jump scares, get that out of here. I think that's the laziest way to scare people. I hate it. We
Can
need to
be.
find ways to fuck with the player directly. And
Mhm.
whether that's, I was thinking this today. I think a horror roguelike could go so
Okay.
hard because if deaths are impactful, all of a sudden it's a
Mhm.
lot scarier than if you just
Mhm.
respawn when you die. If it's
For
like,
sure.
shit, this is scary, and on top of it, I lose everything, now you're like panicking.
Mhm.
There was.
So that's interesting. Just not to cut you off, but like a lot of like PC games in the indie space
Mhm.
are doing that like crazy. There's like a handful of games where like literally it's like to beat the game, you have to go into like the game's files and move the files like one way or the other. I cannot
Mhm.
think of the game off the top of my head, but there are like a bunch of games kind of like that. But it would be fun to see something like that in the
In
mainstream.
the mainstream, yeah.
Um, For sure. Like, what would be a studio that you think? I mean, obviously Remedy because Remedy does weird stuff.
I
But
think Remedy
what
would
would
be
be like a studio?
fantastic. I think Kojima could do it fine. Well,
Hmm.
Kojima actually no, I think Kojima could do it great. Kojima
I
Industries.
think Kojima's kind of
It
doing
would
it.
it would I don't think he's quite pushing what I'm talking about, but yeah, I
Yeah,
get what you're saying. I absolutely get what you're saying.
yeah.
Konami maybe could. They're coming back with Silent Hill, so maybe.
Oh, that's a whole other kind of
Mm-hmm.
rumor we can talk about
Yeah,
because I mean
that's a whole other thing.
it's a whole thing, and I hope it's good. Might not be
I
though.
have no idea. I'm holding off till I see anything. I'm not
That's
like
fair.
it's been so long. It's like not even the same team really anymore. I'm not too concerned. I'm not too excited about it, but who knows? We'll see. I
For
know
sure.
one other thing back in the day that never came to fruition. I forget who was working on it. I wish I knew. Someone was making a heartbeat monitor for a game, and it would
Oh, I
track your
remember that.
heartbeat, and the intensity of the
Hmm.
scares would change based on your heartbeat. That is so
Hmm.
fucking cool. Like, I
Hmm.
want some
Or
weird shit like that.
like Alien Isolation, how like you could turn on your controller's mic and like you could literally like the alien could hear you. Like if you nestle in your seat too loud, like it would be like
Yeah,
come for you.
so
Like
cool.
yeah, no stuff like that.
But let's get like okay, instead of like just that one gimmick like an alien, like that like that
Hmm.
speaker, let's combine a bunch. Like let's do one where you're
Okay.
in a tense moment, all of a sudden controller shuts down, like stops working. Like no matter what you do, stuff like that.
Ooh.
So
Okay.
cool.
Okay. Um. Yeah, that is pretty cool. Okay, so let's make a web. Let's make a fake web.
Okay.
If I had Microsoft Paint up right now, I would draw a web. So let's see, horror game idea, right? So we don't want to do demonic because it is kind of overdone and it's not even that scary anymore with games like Doom, other things that are
Mm-hmm.
just objectively scarier.
Yep.
What are we feeling sci-fi? Do we feel spacey?
Ooh, yeah, like a stranded kind of thing. Like you're like a sci-fi space. Like you're
Yeah, almost like Dead Space, but I mean,
yeah,
obviously, it wouldn't be Dead Space
yeah.
for copyright purposes. But something like
Essentially,
you're maybe
you could make it almost like the surviving and getting back to Earth is like the horror slash thriller. Like
ooh
having to
yeah.
always be
You
like
ever
having
see
to be scared
Gravity?
of shit going wrong constantly.
Ooh, oh, that could go into like resource management, and then like
Mm-hmm.
maybe there's like I don't know, maybe you find out that your main character like has some kind of mental disorder, and now and again the controller like shuts down, and you have to do something on the controller that isn't
Oh
twist
my
the
gosh,
stick.
I just some. So you're in isolation for a long period of time, you slowly go more and more insane as you're stuck on the
Mhm,
space shuttle by yourself trying to survive
mhm,
and shit just keeps going wrong. And as you lose your mental
mhm.
stability, like controls get funky, like randomly like circle now is jump, X is now dodge. Whatever it is, just
Yeah,
for this
controls are
little bit.
inverted for no
Like
reason.
for no reason, controllers will stop working for no reason. Like all of a sudden, oh, pause button doesn't work. You can't pause if something scary happened. Like there is no pausing to get away. You're stuck in this. Like I think we can make and slowly make them more often. At first be like not really, and then slowly it's like Jesus, like not right now. Like I think
Right, right,
that
right.
that could be so fun and so cool.
And also very meta. Meta game make games meta again. I feel like they stopped doing that. I mean, granted, ever since Grand Theft Auto 5 tried to do the whole app thing and how you have to download the app to like train your dog and like
Yeah.
change your license plates and things like that, and games were just like, you know what? People hated that. Let's not do that
They don't want
again.
to. That's the thing is they don't want to have to do extra stuff.
Hmm.
So like
For a
again,
game they paid full price for.
yeah, and so that's like what's cool about like for example again like the Metal Gear thing like you didn't have to attach anything to make that cool feature work. They just like change that
Yeah,
like
just
what
went.
it looks like. They change how that code
Hmm.
works, and so I think it would be cool to have an accessory that works like the heartbeat monitor. But then again, also
Hmm.
how many people are going to put that on every time they play it? There's gonna be a lot of people that'll they'll
Yeah,
come
not
with
a
they'll
lot.
never touch it. Exactly. So like really any accessories are hard because you can't guarantee that everyone will use it and do the proper experience.
Ooh, what if it's like a Mario Party type of thing where it's like I don't know, where like you like wear the monitor and like whoever can get the calmest with the scary stuff happening like wins in a certain amount of time, or like like who can figure out the controls. Like your goal is to get from point A to point B in this dark hallway, and like you got to find out like okay, like oh it's not the right stick that moves, it's the left stick. Like okay, like
Oh.
punch is right trigger, right? And then like you go through these different things, sort of like Mario Party or like WarioWare, where like you go through these different horror instances, but it's like the goal is that you're scared and confused. Is that the name of the game? Scared and confused?
I'm liking this game we're making. Looks like we're opening up
Name
a
is kind of
mediocre gaming studio.
Mediocre Gaming Studio is great. Hold up. We're gonna put a pin in that. We're gonna come back to that. But let's talk about a game that isn't mediocre. Alan Wake 2. Okay.
Yes.
Starting off, we're gonna give a number score, 9 out of 10. Solid. Solid 9 out of 10. It's not
Okay.
perfect. I'm not blinded by hype and nostalgia enough to be like, this is a perfect game. Even though it does a lot of stuff incredibly. And then it does a lot of stuff kind of not great. And of course, we're going to get into questions that I know you have, especially after I made you play the first game. But yeah, no, let's kind of jump into bugs because it's a 2023 release. It wouldn't be a 2023 release without bugs.
Hmm.
But all of my glitches, and I beat the game, all of my glitches have been visual, right? And then again, it's the Mediocre Gamer podcast. Sometimes I just I might have just been a little too stupid to figure it out. Like, I'm not even gonna lie. Like, there are like a couple of puzzles where it's like, okay, you have the clicker, and with the clicker, this isn't a spoiler or anything, no
Hmm.
spoilers. But you know, it's in the trailers and all the marketing materials. You have the clicker, and when you stand under certain lights, as Alan Wake, you hold it down, you hold X, and literally in about like 3 to 5 seconds, it's like a click, and everything is different around you. Like everything. Like
Okay.
there's new assets, there's new designs on the walls. Go to certain areas. Um, you kind of are like putting a story together. So you go to like Alan Wake's mind place, and you go to like different places. Like, oh,
Hmm.
this happened at this point in the story, and you can move different plot points around and make different things happen, which again changes your environment in about 5 seconds.
Okay.
And I think I was telling you when I first started playing that this game is impressive to say the least. um, but it's not perfect. It is buggy, but it is very ambitious, and also there's nothing like it. I don't think I can't think of anything that's close. But that's enough of me rambling. 9 out of 10 for everybody curious. But what questions do you have as someone who hasn't played the game?
Um, is there gonna be a third one? Don't tell me
So here's
how.
the thing. I got you. Here's the thing. I don't think so. I say I don't think so because I feel like this is like Remedies, and if not Remedy specifically, it's like Sam Lake, like one of the head writers and designers at Remedy Studios. Feels like this is like his swan song. I feel like
Okay.
there's a lot of references to a lot of stuff. It's not a spoiler that the Bureau of Control is involved in the
Hmm.
story somehow, and like they're around doing stuff that's apparent from the Control DLC.
Yep.
But there are references to other games from Remedy. There are things that tie in to things that you wouldn't think tie in. And yeah, so I don't think so. However, if their next project is Control 2, I think we have a lot of cool stuff to look forward to. I don't think we're gonna see an Alan Wake 3 though.
Okay. Okay. Cool. Uh, how was the overall story?
Yes, it was great. Because I know we were conversing. You guys can go back watch our whole kind of breakdown on the first Alan Wake game. But we were talking about in the first story how it was actually crazy. And here's another thing about the story. Because obviously you play as two different protagonists, Alan Wake, Saga Anderson. And one thing that I don't think the marketing material tells you, and this isn't really a spoiler, but you can switch. It's not like the regimented segments all the time. Obviously, the
Oh.
first few bits and pieces of the game are like, hey, you go through this area, you do this thing, but literally you'll go through a certain set point, and with a lot of different checkpoints and things like that, there'll be a option for you to switch between Saga and Alan. The game actually encourages you
Oh.
to play in whatever order you want. So like I was doing a thing where I was going back and forth, but then like Saga stuff got like really crazy, and so I would play through hers, and then I would be like, okay, I got to switch back to Alan and go back
So
to Alan, and that's really crazy.
so wait, they're in different areas doing different stories, but you can swap off whenever.
Maybe not whenever, but at certain checkpoints, right? Because so remember how in the first Alan Wake, all the levels were huge,
Mm-hmm.
but they were defined levels. This is going way more open world. I want to. It's borderline open world. I hesitate to call it open world because it does feel like it's on rails, but you're also playing as more or less normal people, so it's gonna feel like you're on rails.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, Remedy does a very good job of making everything feel not only bigger, not only prettier, not only way more colorful than the first game, but yeah, no, like between certain story beats, it'll just be like, all right, great, you'll go back to the car, and it kind of threw me off because in the first level, this is the one where you're in the forest and you find this dead guy in the park. It's like one of the first levels in the game. You get through it and you have an option. It might have been the second level, but you get through it and you get to the car. You have the option to go to like Cauldron Lake or this other city, and it's like, wait, I have a choice. And like there are things to find
Yeah.
in the levels, and it's like, oh, like I can literally once I do X, Y, and Z, I can literally just go back and just find all the
Explore the
collectibles.
area.
Explore the area, and they give you a lot to explore. There's a lot of stuff to find. There's a lot of Bureau of Control stuff to look into. There's a lot of just lore stuff to look into. Yeah, it I remember you was it last episode before, it doesn't matter, you mentioned how the first Alan Wake was like it was a weekend play. You could beat it in 8 to 12 hours, and like that's being generous. But this one, no, there's so much to find, and there's fascinating puzzles. The
Mm-hmm.
puzzles are so good. Um, and yeah, and oh, it goes the full survival horror route. So
Awesome.
like literally, like when you go to pull up the map, you have to find the maps of different areas. I remember I was walking through one area, no spoilers. I was walking through one area and I was like, shit, hold up, where's this thing? And I went to I went to the map, and like there's maps of the surrounding areas, but like that's all I could see, just the maps of the surrounding areas. It's like, oh, you haven't found the map for this. I was like, oh, I actually have to find it.
Oh
I thought that was just like
wow.
something to do. I didn't, okay, my bad. And then I ended up finding it later, but I was just like, oh shit, like I didn't realize I had to find them.
Even a map system in general is crazy to have in Alan Wake, because I mean the first game did you had no need for a map. It was like it wasn't even a
Literally, it
thought.
was run,
Yeah, it was
was
on
literally
rails.
run the game.
Yeah.
For sure. This, no, like the maps are very useful. I will say one thing, kind of contributing to the fact that it's not a 10 out of 10, the kind of like case system. So like they've kind of shown it off with Saga more than they've shown it off with Alan Wake for good reason. But basically Saga as an FBI agent has this thing called her mind place. In her mind place, you can do a lot. And they also tell you at the beginning of the game that this is not a pause menu. This is part of the game 1000%. So you hit a button. Let's see. Hold up. Let me get my controller. All right, boom. So you hit this side of the touchpad. Boom. You're in Saga's mind place. You hit this side of the touchpad. You're looking at the map. But this is not a pause. There is a pause. You can pause the game, but this is not that.
Okay.
Right. And so yeah, you literally like hit the button and you're just in this office type of thing, and it's sort of like a menu, but you can still walk around, but you
Okay.
don't have to. Like literally, you can look around and be like case board, and then you can look over here and like X
Okay.
for manuscripts, look over here, X for upgrades, right? It's like a menu, but you can walk around and it's like a whole other area, and the world's still going. Like I remember I was talking to an NPC, went to the mind place to like do something, and like their subtitles were still popping up. I'm like, oh, they're still talking. Like this really isn't a pause menu.
Like,
Like, oh my
it's
god.
still going on. Yeah, that's cool. That's really cool, and it's like
Yeah,
essentially like a workshop or like a garage where you can like
kind of. Yeah.
do. Yeah.
Kind
Okay.
of work things through and fix things up. And then I will say there are certain story beats that are like, okay, I didn't need to use my mind place to figure that out. And the game does a pretty good job because you do literally have to take like pictures, let's say pictures of Bright Falls, boom, a picture. And then it's like, okay, here for Alan Wake. And then you find things in the forest. It's like you connect these things and that leads to other things.
So
It becomes like pretty branching. Okay.
is the
Yes.
mind place connected between the two characters, or do they each have their own unique ones?
They each have their own unique mind
Okay.
place.
Okay.
Yes. So Alan Wake has his, and his kind of board serves a different purpose than Saga's.
Got it.
Saga's I feel is more to like keep the story straight. Just because it is kind of confusing. It does get really weird.
It's Remedy.
But it's Remedy. But Alan Wake's actually has very, very important gameplay influence. There are like very important puzzles that you have to use the mind place to figure out.
Okay.
To like, because with sagas, she's trying to work a case. With Alan Wake, he's trying to write a story. So you're moving different elements of the story, like, oh, this happened here and that happened there, but this happened after that. And it's like, oh, we have to do certain things. How can I move certain things around to make this easier for me? Yeah. So yes.
Sounds like it'll be a lot easier to understand the story on a second playthrough.
I mean, probably. It's that's a good question. I hadn't thought about that because I personally, because a lot of people thought the first game story was confusing. Also,
Mm,
if you thought the first game story was confusing, buckle up, Buttercup. Um, but yeah, I followed the story pretty easily, pretty well, pretty good. I didn't have any problems following. However, I could see how it could feel convoluted.
mm,
I think they did a pretty good job tying up everything, but I could see how it could feel convoluted at a certain point.
okay. Okay. Cool. Big question here. This is something I
Yeah.
really hope they work on. Did
Okay.
they add like better guns for each type of gun?
So yes, kinda. So like for example, one new gun that I didn't see really shown off much is not really like a story thing. It's just something you can find. Is a crossbow. You have a crossbow now. And of
Okay.
course you still have, the flare gun, you still have the shotgun, the rifle, right?
Mm,
And but they don't really do like the better gun thing. You have like different upgrades you can use for your guns. Well, the upgrades also work differently between characters. So with Sagas, you can upgrade her guns, so like more bullets, more
oh,
damage,
okay.
stun an enemy when you do this. Versus Alan Wake, um, excuse me, it's more so how can I describe it? It upgrades something different. It's
Cool.
not directly tied to the guns. It upgrades something different, and it makes gameplay a little bit easier and like a little bit more fun. Which is
Okay.
another thing. Again, not a full 10, solid 9, because at certain moments, not all the time, but at certain moments, it definitely feels like they had the Alan Wake story, and they were just like, we need to tie this back to the first game. So like there are certain moments with Saga where it's like this is really cool and really interesting. Damn, it's kind of boring compared to what Alan Wake is doing.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. Um, how's the map? That was also a big problem I had with the first one,
Mhm.
where it felt really samey. We were going through a lot of forest, a lot of just same looking paths. How is
They
that?
do a really good job. They do a really good job of going through the same areas of the first game. So like first of all, they like you can tell they rebuilt this like Bright Falls, and you can tell they put a lot of time and energy and very specific care into it because the map is actually the same as the first game's map. They didn't really change too much. You can walk around Bright Falls at a certain point.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, they do a very, very good job of having different environments where whether it's like you're in Bright Falls, but you go to this house for a brief period of time. You and like yeah, we're in another forest, but the forests are way more vibrant. Everything in
Cool.
this game is way more vibrant. I'm sure you've seen it. It's not just in Alan
Yeah.
Wake in the Dark Place. It's everywhere, and they do something very smart with light, right? So
Of
because
course.
Bright Falls is nestled in this mountain,
Yep.
the shadows, the way the shadows work is great. So like most of the game actually takes place in broad daylight, but a lot of the game is in shadows, right? Because of the rocky terrain and the wooded forest.
Oh.
So
So
like
day isn't
so
even
like
safe anymore.
no, like a lot of the game happens in broad daylight, and the way the light mechanic is also different. Instead of like just waving it and like doing damage, you can shine your light and like see it, but if you boost it, that's when you actually do the thing that actually break their darkness.
Do you have to boost it?
You do have to boost it. From what I could tell, it didn't do damage when you just shined it normally, and it makes sense in the context of the game, but it also makes you appreciate your batteries more because them bitches don't charge randomly anymore. You have to like
Oh.
count your batteries.
Okay.
So
I
yeah,
like that
again,
change. I like that change. That's a good one.
full horror survival, but there isn't a stamina meter, and it doesn't feel like there's not a stamina meter. God damn it, because the enemies are fast and smart and scary. And so you want to dodge, you want to run, and you do run, but it's just sometimes it feels overwhelming, but then again, you take a step back. You're like, okay, this person's gonna be behind this tree and do that and blah blah blah. And it's like, okay, I can figure it out, but you never feel safe. Which again, they did a great job in the first game, amazing job in this one.
Do they? So when enemies ambush you, do they slow
Yes.
down the camera and show them like they did in the last game?
No. So
Awesome.
what'll happen is a lot of times, like you won't even notice how fucked you are until like 15, like 5 minutes in. Like you'll just be walking and like you'll hear something in the woods, and it's like, oh, okay, cool, it's something in the woods, and you look, and it'll just be three motherfuckers and a wolf just waiting for you, and it's like, oh, okay, great, I gotta figure this out now, and like yeah, and then the music will change, but that's about it. They don't do the whole like, or like the slow
Awesome.
weird mo, right? It's all just like that, and then and the characters like talk now. They say things that they would say in the book, like in Alan Wake's story and like the book or whatever. Let's see something. Like I think there was like a librarian or something, or like they showed this off on the coffee like trailer park thing.
Hmm.
How you cut through the trailer park, go through the coffee wonderland. There's gameplay of it. You people know what I'm talking about. Yeah, the people that are like taken in that area will be like, ride the espresso express, and like throw an axe at you or something. Like it's really, it's like really scary because like they'll come out of nowhere and just be like, tickets are half off on Sunday, and like try to cut your head off. It's like, oh, okay, thank you for
So
that.
I want. So I had that when I played one.
Okay,
I wonder, was that
okay,
exclusive to the PC version? Was that not in
might
one
have
at all?
been. I might have just not noticed it because I was scared, AJ. But
That's
it's
fair, and
definitely more noticeable now.
it wasn't with basic enemies. It was only
Mhm.
like special ones, like the at the
Got you.
beginning of one when you're at the lumber yard and like that
Oh yeah,
thing
yeah, yeah,
knocks
yeah,
that
yeah.
building you're in. That guy
Mhm.
talks to you a bunch as you're like approaching. So
Yeah. Oh yeah, he does. He does. It's more enemies now. They
okay,
don't talk over each other, which is definitely on purpose. But yeah, no. It's pretty much everybody. Everybody talks to you.
cool.
Everybody says something very scary, and the boss is again scary. But yes,
That's a good change, I would say. You give it a little more life, give it a little more character. I
for
like
sure.
that. That's super cool. How were a lot of the bosses? Were there a lot? Were
The
there?
bosses are good. The bosses are good. So they're different. So like they do a really good job. Like it's not just like just shine your light and shoot everything and hope for the best. It's not just that anymore. I didn't have to fight a tractor, which thank God the tractor was the worst one. But yeah, no, the bosses are really fun and interesting, and they're like mini boss interactions where like um you got to go into this dark room, and it's just this big guy with like just a pipe, just swinging, like like they're really good. And then like there's one in particular, no spoilers, but there's one in particular where like um there's a lot of water around,
Mm-hmm.
and like you have to figure out like okay, I got to get from point A to point B, but there's a lot of water. However, there are these little platforms that I can stand on, and so when you stand in the water too long, literally something comes out of the water, takes half of your health, and runs away. Like literally, like it's not a viable option to stand in this water.
Okay.
So you have to figure out and like think and plan like okay, if I do this and if I drop a flare here and if I go over there, and it's like okay, I can make this happen, right? And it forces you to think about the game in different ways than you probably would, definitely from the first game, but than you probably would just normally.
Oh my gosh. Just had another. This is sidetrack. Just had another
Oh
fantastic
man.
idea for a horror game. Make you
Oh,
fill
tell me.
out puzzles like during horror like things going on while you're already
You
like
know something?
tensed, stressed out, and now you have to figure out a puzzle.
Yeah, listen. Remedy kind of did that with Alan Wake. So like again, not a spoiler, there's a cult in the game, and the cult has these weird stash boxes. In
Hmm.
these stash boxes, usually the way you open them is a puzzle to figure out the code.
Okay.
So, like for example, there was one. This is one of my favorite ones, where you find this box, right? You find like an ice box with a lock on it,
Yep.
and on the box there are like shapes. So, like one will be a line, then one will be like a triangle with another line through it, and then one will be like kind of like a weird pentagon, and then by the single line it will just be one. So it's
Hmm.
like, oh, so this is a code. So if that is one, then that means that has to be this, and that has to be that, and then it locks. And it's like yes, like
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah.
yeah,
I did
figure
it.
that shit out.
It's all
Yeah.
me. Yeah.
Um, Yeah, you feel way smarter than you probably are. And again, there's a lot of puzzles in
That's
Alan Wake too that are like that.
that's how you successfully do a puzzle. If you feel like you're smart because you figured it out, because you know the puzzle wasn't done well enough, when you're like,
Hmm.
well, that was easy, like you just blew right by it, you don't
Hmm.
even think twice about it, and you know it wasn't thought like they didn't show you the information needed well enough. If most people are having to look it up, now some people, of course, aren't as good as puzzles as others, but most are looking up. That shows that that's a fault on the developer's part also too. So
Hmm.
when they can give you that right bread and butter in the middle, and it's this like it makes you feel like you were smart, that just shows it's great game design.
Yeah, no, again, it's a great game. Is it gonna win Game of the Year? Probably not, but it's a solid 9 out of 10. Like you could argue 9.5. I'm gonna stay to my 9, because that's just safe. But yeah, no, it's like it's a great time, especially if you like want a horror game. And there's obviously the question of if you had to play the first one to understand the second one. Not really. I mean,
Really?
it helps. It helps. Don't get me wrong, because as someone who's played this game and like read up on the lore and then read up on the Federal Bureau of Control's lore, and like literally there's like a little passing interaction where like someone's working on like a cell phone tower or something, and it's just like, oh, I'm from the Federal Bureau of Control, just working on the towers. They sent me out here. I was like, what is about to happen? Like, I
Just
was like,
like
what is
little
going on
Easter
here?
eggs, kind of. Yeah.
Yeah, little stuff like that, and then they actually tie into the story very importantly. But yes, I'm sorry.
So do you think Remedy is working towards kind of like and well, I guess it wouldn't be cinematic, it'd be RGU, Remedy Gaming Universe,
RGU.
you know?
Definitely, definitely, 1,000%. I don't know how deeply they're gonna connect, just because again, the Bureau of Control being in Bright Falls, it feels like just a cheap Easter egg, but it actually makes a lot of sense when you play the game.
I think
Just
it's more
but
purposeful
yes.
than an Easter egg considering they
Mhm.
made a whole Alan Wake DLC for
Yeah,
Control just to tie it into this
right.
game and then to turn around tie the Federal Bureau of Control into the next Control game along with some stuff from Alan Wake 2. It feels like they're building towards something. And I wonder if Control is going to be at the center of it. Almost. It kind of seems like it
Probably.
this the Bureau of Control kind of reminds me of, I don't know how much you follow up on Marvel, but the
Hmm.
TVA from Marvel, like where the Loki series is
Hmm.
going, it kind of feels like that,
Yes,
where
yes,
it's
yes, yes,
like
yes.
kind of
Sort of.
connecting everything. It's like the glue that's holding it all
Kind of.
together in the background.
Yeah, yeah. And then like I'll say it like this: playing Alan Wake 2 made me want to play Control 2, just because the world is so interesting and how the
Mm-hmm.
Bureau of Control is trying to fight something that literally nobody understands. Like they make a reference in Alan Wake 2 to the Bureau of Control's like luck and chance department, where it's just like where like Saga's just like, oh, wish me luck. And someone just says, oh, well, our scientists say that statistically wishing someone good luck is actually bad luck in moments like these. It's like, wait, what? Y'all research that? What are you saying to me? Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, yes.
Okay. I'm excited to see what Remedy does really after Control 2. Like I think Control 2 seems
Okay.
like a pretty logical and seemingly obvious follow up from what I hear. Um,
Yeah.
I
But here's
want
the
to.
problem. Remedy has never done anything conventional. So
No,
literally they could be like, and now Ratchet and Clank. Like literally. Just be
I
something
would
else.
love it. That's what I'm saying. Like I would love for this next Control to take what we have,
Hmm.
like tie into Alan Wake 2 a lot. Really
Hmm.
use that, and then push whatever agenda they want to go towards, and then make a whole new IP that like connects all that. That pushes all. Like I think it'd be cool to
Yeah.
have like essentially all their games are leading into one big thing, but they're all their own different
Yes.
IPs, kind of like the MCU, right? They're all individual
Sort of like
heroes,
the
individual
MCU.
movies, leading into one big
Tie
thing.
in, they come together with the Avengers.
And I don't know if it's an Avengers like thing, but at least like it's a story that combines into one event. I don't know. I don't know.
For sure, for sure. Yeah, I mean, listen, again, it's one of the few must plays in life. Because the first Alan Wake, I get it, it was a cult classic. It's not that great of a game, especially considering that it came out the same year as Grand Theft Auto 4, which kind of is crazy to think about that we took like we are on the way to GTA 6 and we are just now getting Alan Wake 2. But it shows. It's polished. It's pretty. The few bugs, because there were a few, the few bugs I ran into weren't game breaking for me. I've heard other people have had the opposite experience. But for me, I've had a good experience with it. Everything seemed to work as it should have, more or less, minus some visual stuff, minus one or two prompts not popping up when I walk by, minus just minor stuff that was not game breaking and did not really break my immersion.
Stuff you see in every game.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Pop in,
Awesome.
things like that.
I'm really glad to hear that. How I guess so if you had to rate the story, because really that's what like
Okay.
if you're someone who likes it, the story in video games along with the game. Like, you know, 'cause
Mm-hmm.
there's some people that skip the cutscenes, don't pay attention, like whatever, just give
Every
you the
time.
game. And there's some people that care. If you're one of those people that care about video game stories, I would argue that Alan Wake 1 at least, and I would say 2 based on what you said, is a must play for those people.
1000%. Alan, I would argue, okay, so check it out. Check it out. I think Alan Wake 2 is probably a bigger must play because there are just certain things that they do with the live action stuff and there's certain things that they do with like I guess it's called a projection where like you're walking and like it kind of like cuts and it's like flickering like another whole other thing, but you're still walking. You're still controlling the character walking, but it's flashing like New York City and these red lights, but you're in the middle of the forest, but your path isn't obscured and you're following where you're going. And it's like, oh, this means that is there. And it all ties together really well, not to mention the live action stuff. There's just live action things that happen sometimes.
That's so cool. It's really cool that we're getting to a point in gaming where we can seamlessly tie in live action and gameplay and it not be jarring.
Yeah, no. And obviously it's noticeable the uncanny valley versus the live action stuff. It's noticeable,
Yeah.
but that's the point.
Yeah. That's
Yeah, no.
I'm really excited to see where we go with once we get to that point. I think we're getting close. Really, humans I think are really where we're lacking in graphic capability for the most part because humans are just hard. A lot of
Mhm.
details, a lot of
Yeah.
moving
Yeah.
stuff. I mean, literally just
But like the
talking.
environments are
You've all these wrinkles, everything moving right.
have
It's just a
so many
lot.
wrinkles.
It's a lot,
Yeah.
right? And so, and hair is really hard. It's a lot to
Hmm.
render. And so, I think once we get to that point, we could see some really cool like co like live action co gaming stuff.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, no, and then the environments in Alan Wake 2 are like there are like I should have had a counter of just how many times I would just be walking, whether it be in a forest, whether it be in a building, whether it's a morgue, whether it's a hospital, whether it's New York City, and I was just like, shit, this game is pretty. Like, like there would just be
Yeah.
moments where I'll just look and I'm like glance and I'm like, that is photorealistic. If you don't like nitpick like minor things,
Hmm.
like that looks real good. That looks scary good, actually. But yeah, no, like you said, humans are hard, right? Faces are hard than a mug. There's actually a fun fact, random. We're gonna get back to gaming, but that's why Pixar movies look like Pixar movies because they have the capability to model a human face, but because the uncanny valley is gonna be like that's not a human face, they do the kind of more cartoony style. But yes, that's a stylistic choice done on purpose with purpose. But yes, no. I hope we get to that point where human faces are good, but the environments in this game again, I cannot understate how impressive this game is, which is why I don't think it's gonna win Game of the Year. But the people who voted as Game of the Year, I completely understand, like 1000%.
Yeah. I without even having to play it, I understand just because from what I understand this game will be between what you've said, people online have said, what I played of Alan Wake 1, and what I understand of Remedy, I believe it is an essential gaming experience to a serious gamer that cares about single
Hmm.
player experiences.
Oh, 1000%, yeah.
And with that being, and like it's one of those where it's a it's a I would say more of an artistic masterpiece than
Hmm.
a gaming masterpiece, if that makes sense. Even though it
Yeah, no,
is a
that's
game.
fair.
Yeah, like I would give like I
Yeah,
would
no,
give
it.
sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I would give like Tears of the
No, you're
Kingdom
good.
a like a gaming masterpiece over artistic, whereas this feels like more of
Hmm.
an art form, like where they're trying to tell this gripping story.
Yeah, no, 100%. Like if Alan, like okay, if they released the first act of Alan Wake 2, it could easily be a tech demo, and we would all be like, oh, okay, we can wait we can wait for you to perfect that.
Yeah.
Like, and I don't know how long it took for them to make it all together. I'm certain they didn't wait all of these years, even though they do mention how long it's been since the last game, like deeply. I'm certain that a lot of that was just polishing. But yeah, no. It's easy to kind of look at it as a tech demo. Kind of like the first Alan Wake was almost like a tech demo. It was like they wanted an open world thing, and so they made these really big levels. What have you found about this game, AJ?
I know this has to be um extended. It wasn't no way they were working on it this long. Only this game, but
Right.
13 years apparently. There's no
Yep,
way.
that's the time gap.
There's no way. Yeah, that's the time gap. That's the thing. It's like I believe they've been stewing on it for 13 years. They haven't been developing it for 13 years though.
I'm saying, like, I could see 6, like at the longest. Like 6 years for a game is a long time, but 13 years, no way. I refuse to believe it. But in between those 13 years, they made Control. So,
Yeah.
so I mean, how long ago was Control? Wait a minute, when did Control come out? Because I feel like that would probably be a more accurate answer. Control came out in 2019. How long were they working on that?
Oh, so each game that has come out since Alan Wake 1 started out as
Mm-hmm.
Alan Wake 2 and evolved into Quantum Break and Control.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense. That makes way more sense when you play the game, but that makes a lot of sense.
So they said that the foundations of Quantum Break and Control were ideas that the team wanted to implement into Alan Wake 2 but couldn't fit them in. And so they spun them off into those.
Yo, Control 2's combat in Alan Wake would be insane
Yeah.
because that's what you're telling me. Is that they were thinking like, oh yeah, we gotta have these weird, crazy shadow monsters, and Alan Wake can fly. Like,
Yeah, they were given some sort of force. I guarantee you
yeah, give them some kind of gun, and yeah, that would be insane.
that would have been super cool. I could totally see how it started as Alan Wake for both of those. It makes sense.
Oh, 1000%. Yeah, no, and then with Quantum Break, like the combat is so tight. Like it's not a very great game. I'm not gonna lie about that. It's not bad, but
Yeah.
it's not Alan Wake 2. I punched the microphone again. It's not Alan Wake 2. But yeah, no, like the combat's really good and really cool, and the way that the combat works in Quantum Break, you see that in a character that isn't the protagonist, and that make oh yeah, no, I don't know what this next game from Remedy's gonna be, but it's gonna be fun. If this was leading up to Alan Wake 2, and if it shows, it definitely shows, definitely feels like it. And there are jump scares in Alan Wake 2, but they feel very earned, and they're also very, very good and smart and funny.
Good. I think jump scares can work fine. They're just usually
Mhm.
done lazy to give you a scare in between
Yeah.
scares with effort, really. So usually that's why I'm not okay with them. But if they're done with care and attention, I'm cool with it. Usually they aren't, right?
Right. And then again, this was shown off a little bit. Can I this is a baby spoiler for the people watching at home. It's like a very minor jump scare that has nothing to do with the plot, but it made me laugh and it made me giggle. Do you care if I
Go
divulge?
for it. If it's, I trust you. It's a baby.
Sure, it's a baby one that has nothing to do with anything else, but it has something to do with another thing that isn't the main story. And if you're watching at home, you don't want to listen to it, just skip ahead a little bit. It's fine. But literally, there's a thing where you go into this nursing home and you're looking for this person. You go up these stairs and you're like going room to room, and like each of these old people interact with you differently, and it's really funny. Like you go up top and like for whatever reason it's really dark upstairs. It's like okay, whatever. So you look around, you get to this one door, it's locked, you don't really find anything, and you turn around. and and there's someone there. It's just a crazy old guy that's just like It's like, oh shit, okay, hi, oh, sweat, what do you want?
I
And
love
like
that.
it was really good because yeah, and then the game kind of it does a great job of messing with you. Like literally, you'll go from point A to point B, and it plays with the fact that like there's a lot of loops, and it's like wait a minute, I just did this, and like the characters would be like wait a minute, but that was like that. It's like is this a circle? What's going on? And like things like that happen. Like there was one level in particular. This is the last time I drool about this game for a little bit, unless you have some more questions. There was one level where like literally there was just a side door, like a side door that had nothing to do with anything. And I went in and I walked in, went left, kept walking left, kept walking left. That's a circle, right?
Mm-hmm.
When I made that complete circle, the door was gone.
Oh,
So I was like,
that works like PT did.
kinda, yeah, kinda. So I was like, so wait a minute, the door is gone. So how can I get out to play the rest of the game? So I was like, am I missing the door? Like I did like 10 laps around this corner. And then I was like, wait a minute. I did one more lap, no door. I get to one end of the hallway, I turn around, the door is there. I was like, okay. Like
Yeah.
and it's like it does a great job of making you feel like, am I going crazy? He's like, no, I'm not. Wait a minute. If I do this and I do that, I'm like, yeah. And again, makes you feel real smart, way smarter than you probably are, especially if you're walking in a circle for like 10 minutes trying to figure out where the door is.
You keep giving me such good. I want to make a horror game now, and I don't even like horror. I just thought about that. Like, if you were able to confuse the player in like a way, but then like while spooking them, like I guess kind of
Mm-hmm.
like the puzzle thing where you have to like figure out what's going on while being spooked. I think that's such potential. That's just I think so
For
cool. And
sure.
if you have them like thinking what you're thinking, like what's going on, or like what
Right.
you're essentially like they're thinking the same thing, or you have the game essentially make you think you're crazy. Like, no,
Exactly.
that was there, and like it's just something completely different. I think that could be really cool. There's just some potential there. Anyways, enough about my
Any
fictitious game.
any more questions about the very real game, Alan Wake 2?
I don't think so. I think you covered about everything I can ask without going into spoiler territory, which I don't
For
want to
sure.
anyways. I wanna go in blind
Right.
also. So any other last comments you want to have on it before we say sayonara?
It's a must play for single player gamers. Yes, if you are into single player games, this is the game for you. The story is insane. It's so good. Ah. And yeah, must play. If it wins game of the year, it deserves it. If it doesn't, I understand. It's been a great year for gaming, as I've said for a very long time. AJ, anything you want to tell the people before we tell them bye?
As Anthony said, Alan Wake 1 and 2 are both must play games for single players. I can't recommend it enough. Besides that, I just appreciate you guys watching us while we make this mediocre content. As always,
Very
please
mediocre.
make sure that you guys subscribe for more mediocre content, along with leaving a like and comment. Let us know what you'd like us to play next and review / talk about in the gaming sphere. We love all things gaming. Love talking to you guys. Later.
Peace.